The spark that lit a nation, Nepal's Gen Z revolution. It began not with a shout, but with a whisper on a screen. A video of a politician's son flaunting a luxury watch, juxtaposed with the coffin of a young man returning from a foreign war. This digital contrast became the spark. And when the government tried to snuff out that spark by banning the internet itself, they ignited an inferno that would consume their own power. This is the story of how a generation labeled incapable brought a government to its knees. On September 8, 2025, the streets of Kathmandu swelled with a tide of young faces. They weren't armed militants, they were students in school and college uniforms, organized by the NGO Hami Nepal. Their march from Matagar Mandala to the parliament was a peaceful demand for a future. The government's response was brutal and decisive: water cannons, tear gas, and rubber bullets. But the turning point, the moment that transformed protest into revolution, was when the police raised live rifles and fired into the crowd. The crack of bullets was answered by a deafening silence of shock, then a roar of fury. At least 19 protesters were killed, including a 12-year-old child. This act of state violence was the catalyst. Peaceful marches exploded into a nationwide uprising. Cities like Pokhara, Butwal, and Burtapur joined Kathmandu in a chorus of outrage. The government's imposition of a 3:30 p.m. curfew was ignored, the people had already taken control. The ban on social media, affecting platforms like Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp, but curiously not TikTok, was the immediate trigger, but it was merely the last straw. The real fuel for this fire was a toxic mix of rampant corruption, a rotating door of the same few 70-year-old politicians, Ali, Dahal, Duba, accused of massive graft, from embezzling funds meant for guerrilla fighters to illegal land deals. They enjoyed immunity, while the people suffered the consequences. Crippling unemployment, with a youth unemployment rate of over 20%, 1 in 5 young Nepalis had no future. The situation was so desperate that thousands risked their lives to fight in the Russia-Ukraine war for a salary, a tragic testament to the lack of opportunity at home. Blatant nepotism. While ordinary citizens struggled, the Nepo kids of these politicians flaunted their lavish, designer lifestyles on social media. Hashtags like #NepoKids trended, highlighting the grotesque inequality between the ruling class and everyone else. The social media ban was a desperate attempt to silence this exposure. Instead, it became the megaphone that amplified the message. Nepali youth flooded the only available platform, TikTok, with videos contrasting their reality with the politicians' extravagance. The protests grew until the symbols of power themselves were ablaze. The Prime Minister's residence, the parliament, and the opposition leader's home were set on fire. The army evacuated officials by helicopter as the state lost control. Finally, on September 9, Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli was forced to resign. Nepal's story is a powerful lesson for the world. It proves that a connected and courageous generation will not be silenced. It shows that when a government ignores the real issues, corruption, unemployment, and inequality, in favor of censorship, it sows the seeds of its own downfall. But what do you think? Can this youth-led movement successfully rebuild a system steeped in decades of corruption, or will the old powers simply find a new way to reassert control? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you want to stay updated on global events with deep, unbiased context, consider subscribing. We cut through the noise to bring you the signal.